Okay, now we're going to be taking a look at the educational systems we work within. So the outcomes for this session are really to recognize the need for culturally responsive practices and policies in our district. We're going to define the dimensions of culturally responsive education and begin creating a talk about how to begin creating culturally responsive educational systems. Your next assignment that will be on the front page of the Google Classroom is to establish some ground rules. This will be an assignment for you to bring to the next class. What you'll do is go into the PDF and just make some notes for some ground rules that you think would take for you to feel safe talking, sharing, and participating in the Academy. Think about how a safe, culturally responsive, and interactive learning environment can be created through body language, words and language, physical arrangement, and even instructional design. I'd really like for you to think about what would be optimal for your participation in this class to feel safe taking risks and to feel like you're being heard. So take a minute to do that after this next session. And remember, this is something to bring for next class. As you're thinking about the ground rules you'd like to establish, these are some ideas for handling sensitive topics sensitively. We always want to assume good intentions. Listen with an open heart, consider with thoughtfulness instead of snap judgments, and really understand that this work is messy. If it were easy, we'd have solved these gaps a long, long time ago, but it's not easy. So that's why sometimes having some ground rules so that we can be respectful and really listen to each other are helpful. Don't be afraid to respectfully challenge other people in the group or ideas that even I as the instructor bring up. Just know that you're the right person for this job, and everything that you bring is valuable and valued. So let's examine what's in an educational system. What aspects of an educational system need to be involved in responsiveness? Well, we know that educational systems involve people, practices, and policies. People are key since educational systems are created to educate people, infants, children, and adolescents and adults. Educational systems employ people. Teachers and other school practitioners work together to create effective learning communities for the students they serve. School leaders and other administrators help to keep the system flowing so that students enter, progress, and graduate, and teachers and other personnel are recruited, hired, coached, evaluated, and retired in a constantly flowing process. Let's look at the policies. Policies help to guide the people side of the work. They're created to maintain the learning process and reduce the amount of effort expended on activities other than learning, like getting supplies to the classroom, deciding which students are assigned to which teachers, and making sure that there are enough books, desks, classrooms, and buildings to house all the students. Policies help parents and students know what to expect, what is expected from them, and how the school calendar will flow from that time that school opens until the end of the school year. Practices are what people do. They include simple things like how students are greeted at the beginning of the year, to how reading is taught in the classroom, to how assessment occurs. While policies regulate the spheres in which people operate, much of daily practice is up to the people who do the work, students and school practitioners alike. Practices also include how teachers interact with one another, their supervisors and the building leadership, the practices of administrators at central administration, and how they affect the lives of school personnel and the choices they make to involve themselves in decision making. When we talk about making a system culturally responsive, we mean that people, policies, and practices need to be assessed in terms of the degree to which they permit or impede culturally responsive action. So what are culturally responsive educational systems? Culturally responsive educational systems are grounded in the belief that we live in a society where specific groups of people are afforded privileges that are not accessible to other groups. By privileging some over others, a class structure is created in which the advantaged have more access to high quality education and later more job opportunities in high status careers. This leads to socioeconomic stratification and the development of majority-minority polarity, and we see that in our student group data. We can turn the tide on this institutionalized situation by building systems that are responsive to cultural difference and seek to include rather than exclude difference. Students who come from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds can excel in academic endeavors if their culture, language, heritage, and experiences are valued and used to facilitate their learning and development. These systems are concerned with instilling caring ethics in the professionals that serve diverse students. Support the use of curricula with ethnic and cultural diversity content. Encourage the use of communication strategies that build on students' cultures and nurture the creation of school cultures that are concerned with deliberate and participatory discourse practices. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as the class moves on. Moreover, culturally responsive educational systems create spaces for teacher reflection, inquiry, and mutual support around issues of cultural differences. This part is very near and dear to my heart personally, and my aim with this course and with my position in the district as a support person for you and for students is to wrap myself around this last bullet point. I really believe that teacher reflection, inquiry, and this collegial support is going to help us further our students, further our practice, and close those gaps that keep us up at night. Let's take a moment to take stock about where we're at as with our educational systems in 197, whether at the building level or at the district level. So again, I want you to go back into Stream in the Google Classroom. Find the assignment called CR, or Culturally Responsive Educational Systems, in my classroom and or in ISD 197. Post a couple of examples to the group, and make sure to read others' examples and give feedback or ask clarifying questions. So think about the educational systems that are either culturally responsive or not culturally responsive that have to do back with our last slide. The practices, the people, and the policies that make up our district. Let's just take stock of where we're at, and this will kind of fuel our discussion the next time we meet face to face. And I'll give you some time to do that.